Hello out there, my name is Milesy and welcome to my channel. Today we're working on a disaster. Everything that went wrong could have possibly went wrong with this one. So this is Will. He is actually the main character in Little Beirut. He is a Tanuki and he is a journalist on TV. And his entire deal is that he is just absolutely physically incapable of experiencing emotions like remorse and guilt and anything like that, which makes him a perfect journalist, honestly, because I've set him up initially to be this really kind of corrupt asshole who will use his position to kind of further political agendas, and he does kind of do that to a point. Mostly he uses his position as a journalist to blackmail and harass people he doesn't like, and one of the big things about him is that Nicola, who I don't think has been introduced on this channel yet, she pretty much lets him get away with everything. She is one of his producers, so she lets him get away with all of this absolutely psychopathic crap that he likes to pull, as long as he, as she puts it, uses his powers for good and not evil. So that's kind of how he gets away with being a little bit of a monster, because as long as he's not being completely disgusting about it, she will pretend that he's doing it for the ratings and not because he really enjoys it, but he does. He really enjoys it. So he's kind of a fun one in that regard to play with, because when I was initially playing with this character, before it came over to being in the setting that it was, he lived in the GTA universe where you're kind of expected to be a little bit crummy. So I was having a lot of fun playing with this antisocial personality that didn't go completely Hollywood with it. Like, I didn't want him to be a Jim Moriarty psychopath where he's just doing everything for the purposes of discord and chaos. Everything he does is very self-serving. Everything he does has a motive and a reason. So that's something that's been a lot of fun to play with, and he is kind of just this terrible, terrible person, but he will also be incredibly altruistic under the right circumstances if doing so will help his position, which is something he does a lot, and it's one of the aspects of his character and his personality that I really like playing with, because it's the sort of thing that people don't really expect with the way that he gets built up. So this is Will. He's the main character. He's kind of a sleaze. He's a middle-aged teenager, I think is the best way to put it. He is in his late 30s. Initially, he had this weird time travel plot, which meant that in practice, he was effectively 90 in the body of a 38-year-old or whatever. So there is that. But that had to go away, so at this point, he's just kind of grouchy beyond his years at this point. Now the art. The art. So you could probably see while I was working on his snout that the marker was running out. These are the Celamoon markers, and I noticed originally when I first got these that they're a little bit more dry than the other ones. You can see there's a really dark patch on his cheek where the markers overlapped, which is not something I've really had too much of a problem with some of my other brands, but every now and then one of these marker brands will just not behave, and this one is pretty dry. Most of the colors have behaved, but a couple of them were just really not playing very well. And then it came to the inking. And the problem is, he's got all these really dark browns, and he's got that dark purple hair, and he's got that dark blue shirt, and I could not see any of my pencil lines. I kind of had to just start making it up as I was going, and I really need to get more comfortable with inking before I color. because I did notice that it's easier to ink when the paper has been pressed down and moistened a little bit by the markers, but I feel like at a certain point it just hits a point of diminishing returns, like with this one where I couldn't see anything that I was doing because the dark browns and the dark purples and the dark everything covered it all up. I had to pretty much make up everything around his hands and his eyes and his shirt and his cheeks and around his neck and basically everything except for his snout and the inside of his ears. I couldn't see a single line. And I think at one point I even had to grab my phone and turn on the light to try to convince some of those lines to shine for me so that I could see them. So this one, between the markers running out on me really early and having to do this, I really ran out of patience with it very quickly. And I kind of regret that. I had the original sketch still sitting on the shelf next to me, so I kept having to look over and peek at that to see where lines were, and I still really couldn't find them. So I think for the next week, my plan with the next few pages of the sketchbook is that I'm going to work on getting more comfortable with my inking. So there's a couple more pages that you will see after this video goes up, because I film a lot of them in advance and then just edit as I need them. So what I'm going to do going forward, I think after the next few that you'll see, is I'm going to just really work on doing my inking, getting comfortable, not just with my fine liners, but with my brush pens. I have a couple of the big ones. I know there's at least one or two small ones that I have that I can't find. I think I know vaguely where they are, so I can kind of take a look and see if they're where I think they are. But I've been kind of trying to get better at using those, and I've been really wanting to get better at using my fine liners. I have this really nice set that you might have seen in a haul video, where it was like 24 different colors of fine liners, and I want to try to use those and get really comfortable with them. And another thing I really want to start getting better at is getting out of this mindset that everything I draw has to be a big ordeal. I think both this portrait and the one before it with Billy, they each took me about 3 or 4 hours. I am not a fast worker at all. I don't know how people can do anything quickly. It's just not something I'm good at. So I want to get better at just putting something down on a page and being done with it. So I think this one, aside from his really wonky glasses because I couldn't see the lines, but I think this one would have benefited from me finishing the inks and then just calling it good. But instead, I decided to go and add my colored pencils to it to try to save it, because that always works, right? Except I'm using my Prismacolor pencils because they are the ones that I'm most comfortable with. The problem is, my Prismacolor pencils are about a century old. These things are ancient. They are hilariously old. And I don't have many colors. So he's got all of these really dark tones to begin with. I probably should have done his tones significantly lighter so that they could have been darkened up with the pencils. But I wasn't thinking, because this was the second one I'd done that night. I did Billy, and then I just rolled right into him. So by the time I had got to this point, I was really tired, and I should have gone to bed like an intelligent person. But I decided, no, I was going to finish this. And this blue that I was using, this is my indigo blue, which has always been my go-to for shading. That was the darkest color I had. I didn't have any darker browns. The browns that I have are all on the same level as what he already has down, so I wasn't really able to shade much darker than where he was, which meant that he just has no detail at all. He's so bad. I'm so unhappy with how this one turned out, because I just kept trying to overwork it, and I needed to make it good. But this is a sketchbook. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's a sketchbook, and I really need to get over this weird habit of mine of just overworking everything. I've been overworking everything lately, too. It started with Will, And it's just kind of snowballed. Every time I think it's done, I think, I can do something else. I can add these highlights, I can add some more shading, and it just ruins it. So that's something I really need to get over as well, is just learning when something is done. So yeah, that is kind of where the art was for this week. Not very great. But it has been a really weird, stressful week. Over here in the land of fire and flood, I am recording this. It is 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, so you guys will be seeing this several hours after I edit this. I think you'll see it like in 12 hours. So we've had all sorts of fire, and then yesterday we had a thunderstorm that lasted, no joke, almost 24 straight hours of thunder and lightning, and then rain that turned into flooding. So it has been a week. We actually have the final Kickstarter package that was found. It's at the P.O. box. We didn't want to go. It was scary outside, and we decided we were going to stay safe up here in our 3rd floor apartment where nothing can get to us. So hopefully tomorrow things will dry out and we can go pick up that box, because there's a lot of beads in there that need to be dealt with. So I can't wait for that. But yeah, just kind of a lot of really weirdness. I couldn't, for some reason, get anything right. I just kept overworking and overworking. I didn't really get any dimension on this side of his face. It wound up really flat. So I guess my goals for the next week. It's Saturday today, so let's see what I accomplish by next Saturday. So my goals are for this week, I want to get better at doing simpler pieces. Something that takes me an hour and a half at the most to do, instead of these 4-hour ordeals. So I want to get better at that. And I want to get better at using my fine liners. And I want to get better at using my brush pens. And I want to find my missing small ones, because I have at least 2 small ones, and I don't know where they are. So those are my goals. Do some smaller pieces and get more comfortable with inks. So we'll see how I can manage to do that. But I guess I'll leave you here with Will and his absolutely disastrous appearance that I just realized I really could have used that weird line on his cheek that I had accidentally created to separate it from the rest of his fluff. But I guess I was too tired to think about that, so oh well. Anyway, I will go. I will leave affiliate links down below for everything that I have used, if I can find them. That way you can check them out as well. I've got the Salamoon markers and the Prismacolor Premier pencils, and I believe I used some Copic multi-liners. I think that's what I used to highlight or to outline, if that is correct, and then I can't remember the other ones that I used. I will take better care of marking those down, I think, going forward. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, all that fun stuff, and I will see you next time. Bye!